ShotokuTech News of the Week, bringing you news stories that you might have missed because there were other news stories. You're watching ShotokuTech News of the Week, 6 May 2020 edition. The ACL is suing Clearview AI. This Clearview AI is assembling biometric face print data. They say they're only using it for law enforcement, and it's not meant for private companies, and that it's protected by the First Amendment. This lawsuit's been filed in Illinois, where they have a specific law for this type of activity. They have this biometric privacy law banning police use of facial recognition systems. Clearview's been assembling face print data from social media without our knowledge, and so they've offered up this massive face print database to private companies, police, federal agencies, and wealthy individuals, allowing them to secretly track and target whomever they wish using facial recognition technology. This small brewery bashes the Houston Astros for their 2017 cheating scandal. The Astros were using garbage cans, banging on them to signal what the pitch was going to be. So, Departed Souls Brewing Company has made this trash can banger beer. So apparently, the coronavirus also involves pangolins, and I really didn't even know what a pangolin is. It looks like it's related to the anteater, and it's got like a large scales on it. So apparently somebody was smuggling pangolins into China, and they were seized by custom officials, and the types of coronaviruses that have caused the human pandemic are more similar to the pangolin variety. A key piece of genetic material relating to the ability of the SARS-CoV protein spike to bind itself to human cells was identified in the pangolin viruses, but not the bat viruses. So apparently Earth's sixth mass extinction is accelerating. So hundreds of unique, precious species of animals' life has vanished forever in the last century. It may just take decades now for hundreds more species to disappear for all time. As each domino falls, knockoff effects for adjacent species become more risky. Destabilized ecosystems, weakened food webs, survival for any species, including humans, is less assured. What do we do to deal with the current extinction crisis in the next 2 decades will define the fate of millions of species. The average rate of vertebrate species extinctions, 2 mammal extinctions per 10,000 species every 100 years, was drastically less than today's extinction toll, which is up to 100 times higher over the last century. This is incontrovertible evidence that recent extinction levels themselves are unprecedented in human history and highly unusual in Earth's history. The cleanest air on Earth is over the Southern Ocean, which surrounds Antarctica. It's free of traces of human chemicals and waste. Its remote location contributes to the fact that it remains that way as long as it has. Clouds over the Southern Ocean are pristine. Humans have impacted virtually every process on planet Earth. You can find our trash in the ocean, our plastic washed up on remote beaches where humans don't even live, and our chemicals in clouds hovering high above our heads. That's unless you come to this Southern Ocean. There's no traces of fossil fuels, fertilizer, or human waste. It's about as clean as you can get. While we're on the topic of clean, let's talk about the cleanest oceans. And again, these oceans that are the cleanest are the South Atlantic and the South Pacific. There's 150 million metric tons of plastic in the oceans, and another 8 million metric tons are added to the oceans annually. Plastic doesn't decompose, which makes it really destructive in terms of this pollution. Plastics are swept into rivers and streams and find their way into oceans. Plastic does more harm to the ocean than on land because marine animals do not have the ability to differentiate between plastic and prey. The South Pacific and South Atlantic Oceans are the least polluted, with 297 billion and 491 billion plastic pieces, respectively. I don't know what this gyres is. Let's see. Okay. A gyre is a large system of circulating ocean currents. So both oceans have gyres, but limited human activities make them cleaner than the rest. And they're both located in the southern hemisphere, which is less inhabited than the northern hemisphere. The Indian Ocean was thought to be the only ocean without a garbage patch, but the Ganges and Indus rivers account for a large percentage of pollutions in the Indian Ocean. The two rivers are among the 10 rivers that account for 90% of the pollution in oceans. The North Pacific is the most polluted ocean. It's home of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Sky Brown is an 11-year-old skateboarder who suffered traumatic injuries from a ramp trick. Sky is actually trying to be the youngest Olympian in Great Britain history, but the Summer Games in Tokyo were postponed till 2021. Even at this young age, she's already among the best in her sport, ranking 3rd in the world women's park competitions. She earned a bronze medal at the 2019 World Skateboarding Championship. She suffered skull fractures, a broken wrist, a broken hand, and a black eye. So best wishes to you. Sounds like she's hopeful for a complete recovery. A SETI Institute study suggests that Mars once had rings, and its current moons coalesced from these rings, and it may be a cyclical process that will occur again. They were puzzled why Deimos is slightly tilted compared to the Martian equator by only 2 degrees. It was a negligible amount, but still significant, and when they examined it in a different way, they determined that perhaps this moon was formed from a ring of dust. And Phobos orbits closer to Mars and is slowly spiraling into the planet. Phobos will drop so close to Mars that the gravity of the much larger planet will pull the moon to pieces, forming a ring. So this may not be a one-off event. Instead, the moon is pulled apart. Eventually the pieces form into another moon. This not only will happen to Phobos, but has already perhaps happened other times in the Martian past. Russia is struggling to clean up this oil spill in the Arctic Circle. This is the first time such an accident in the Arctic polar region has occurred. A diesel reservoir at a power station collapsed, releasing 15,000 tons of diesel fuel into a river and another 6,000 tons into the soil. They're rushing into this marshy area where it's difficult to work. This Ambarnaya River, which is worst affected by the spill, feeds into Lake Piacino, a major body of water and the source of the Piacina River that is vitally important to the entire Taimyr Peninsula. This is a new discovery. A lost monument of early Maya civilization is discovered in Mexico. Using LiDAR, which is basically a laser radar, they've discovered this 2,800-year-old monumental structure in Tabasco, Mexico. It appears to be a naked-eye astronomy platform with supporting reservoirs and other structures. The radiocarbon dating shows this to be between 3,000 and 2,800 years old. The development of Maya civilization was believed to be a slow, gradual process with small villages emerging 2,000 to 1,600 years ago. So finding this large, sophisticated complex, nearly 3,000 years old, changes that whole perception. This ancient burial site in Belize suggests that maize was introduced into the common diet nearly 5,000 years ago. This burial site has been used continuously for over 10,000 years. So that sounds like it provides researchers a lot of data to be able to look at over human remains across a period of 10,000 years. Finding intact burials from any time period is rare in these types of environments. But the rock shelters we have excavated just happen to be the perfect set of factors to protect from the elements, creating a very dry, loose sediment with no tree roots disturbing the interred bones. Scientists are analyzing the bones from 44 human skeletons. Maize photosynthesizes differently than other kinds of plants. It leaves a unique chemical signature in the bones. The oldest remains that researchers have recovered from this burial site date between 9,600 and 8,600 years ago. Humans continue to bury the dead at rock shelters until just 1,000 years ago. The isotopic ratios measured in the ancient bones showed humans in Central America began eating maize nearly 5,000 years ago. Prior to that, they relied on herbs, fruits, and nuts from local trees and shrubs, as well as meat from hunting native land animals. Thank you for watching ShotokuTech News of the Week. Thank you for watching ShotokuTech. Please subscribe, comment, like, and share.